We are all Nnamdi Kanu now. Watching All Nnamdi Kanu in court on Monday, fighting alone for his rights and what should represent the collective emancipation of the Igbo nation, broke my heart. As I viewed and reviewed the video clips of his bravery and frustration over a case for which he had already been acquitted and discharged by Justice Adebola of the Appeal Court in 2022, tears streamed down my cheeks. The scene starkly illustrated the plight of the Igbo people, resembling a conquered nation in a country where they were once a major tribe. There's no need to question how we have descended to this low point. The answer lies in the willingness of our political elite, governors, senators, ministers, House of Representatives members, and federal government appointees to obsequiously bow to the Hausa Fulani and Yoruba oligarchs for political relevance. How many of those who have loudly called for Nnamdi Kanu's release in the newspapers were present in court to offer him solidarity? They would never dare to show up, fearing the wrath of their northern and southwest political benefactors. Except for a few, none of our political class can achieve or sustain political relevance without frequently visiting those in power. They prostrate themselves before every Tom, Dick and Harry connected to the power brokers for political survival, even if it means betraying their fellow Igbo brothers or compromising our collective aspirations. They become aggressive tigers only in the East, targeting dissenters and ambitious politicians loyal to them, but they turn into sheep in Abuja. In all regions, only the political class of Igbo extraction seems to believe in one Nigeria. Others prioritize their political success, the growth of their people, and what they will gain from Nigeria. Yoruba activist Sunday Igboho faced similar allegations to those for which Nnamdi Kanu has been incarcerated since. While Igboho was arrested in the Benin Republic and was never repatriated, Kanu was illegally arrested in Kenya and forcibly brought to Nigeria in handcuffs like a criminal. Yoruba, traditional rulers, socialites and political elites did not beg or bow before former President Buhari for Igboho's release. They demanded it and ensured he was never sent back to Nigeria. Where is Igboho today? Is he still in detention? Sheikh Gumi has made unguarded remarks as if he is pleading with the federal government to arrest him. Yet the government and all security agencies pretend not to see him. Can any Igbo man or religious leader dare to make similar statements? Today, every tribe in Nigeria feels emboldened to kill Igbos and destroy their properties with impunity. Our elites can only issue warnings that are strong on paper but weak in action. The federal government is willing to dole out cash to northern and southwest youths to dissuade them from protesting while deploying armored vehicles against Igbo youths simply for discussing the prospect of a protest. Do you know why? Because we are all Nnamdi Kanu now. How many critics of the governments in the southwest or north are in detention for speaking out against their governors? None. Yet almost all correctional facilities in the southeast are filled with those who criticize the government. I'm sure you understand why. Yes, we are all Nnamdi Kanu now. It is a shame that we have become slaves in a land where we were once giants. The numerous police and military checkpoints in the southeast are proof of our conquest, yet we dare not speak out. If the cries of marginalization were not just for political gain, our southeast governors would have developed a plan to transform the zone into megacities by now. But their insatiable appetite for wealth will never permit it. They would rather steal the money, starve our youths into submission, and use what's left to settle their northern and southwestern political godfathers and the anti-graft agencies. In examining the ongoing trial of All Nnamdi Kanu before Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court, I will limit my intervention to a singular but critical issue of law, the principle of judicial impartiality and the implications of alleged bias in adjudication. It is a fundamental tenet of justice that no judge should preside over a matter in which their impartiality has been reasonably called into question. The principle of nemo judex in causa sua, that no one should judge their own case, is fundamental to fair trials and honest courts. The moment a litigant formally raises concerns about a judge's neutrality, whether due to perceived bias, vested interest, or a history of contentious rulings against them, the judge is legally and morally bound to step aside to prevent any appearance of partiality. Courts have repeatedly held that even the mere perception of bias is enough to vitiate judicial proceedings because justice must not only be done, but must be seen to be done. The Supreme Court of Nigeria has consistently reinforced this principle. In Dime v. Proprietors of Grand Junction Canal, 1852-3 HLC 759, it was held that a judge must recuse themselves from any case where they have a direct or indirect interest. Similarly, in Metropolitan Properties Co. Ltd v. Lannon 19691 QB 577, Lord Denning held that the test for determining judicial bias is whether a reasonable observer, with knowledge of all relevant facts, would conclude that there is a real likelihood of bias. This principle has been followed in Nigeria in Ame v. Sosanya 2010-6, NWLR, PT 1190-14, where the Court of Appeal ruled that judicial officers must disqualify themselves if there is even an appearance of bias, regardless of whether actual bias exists. Furthermore, in Kenon v. Tecum 2001-14, NWLR PT 73212, the Supreme Court held that where a judge is accused of bias or partiality, they should, in the interest of justice, disqualify themselves from presiding over the case. The court emphasized that a judge does not need to have actual bias. The perception of bias alone is enough to warrant recusal. In the present case, there is no ambiguity regarding the legal status of Justice Binta Nyako's continued involvement in All Nnamdi Kanu's trial. A valid and binding court order has already recused her from presiding over this matter. This means that any further proceedings conducted under her authority are not merely irregular but illegal. Her insistence on continuing with the trial despite this judicial directive constitutes a grave violation of due process and a blatant disregard for the rule of law. Even more alarming is Justice Nyako's admission that she is aware of the recusal order, but is proceeding based on a letter from the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court instructing her to continue with the trial. This raises serious concerns about her understanding of the law. It is trite that an administrative letter from the Chief Judge does not and cannot amount to a judicial order, setting aside a valid and subsisting order of a court of competent jurisdiction. To suggest otherwise is to embrace legal absurdity and crass ignorance. The only lawful means of setting aside the recusal order is through a properly filed motion before a superior court, leading to a formal ruling that overturns the earlier decision. Any attempt to disregard an existing order based on an administrative directive is a direct affront to the independence of the judiciary and the sanctity of judicial pronouncements. The Nigerian Constitution, particularly Section 36(1), guarantees every individual the right to a fair hearing by an impartial tribunal. Furthermore, international human rights instruments, including the African Charter on Human and People's Rights, ACHPR, and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, ICCPR, reinforce the necessity of judicial independence and the right of an accused person to be tried before an unbiased judge. Justice Nyako's refusal to step aside, despite a clear order to do so, not only erodes public confidence in the judiciary, but also exposes Nigeria to scrutiny under international legal frameworks. Beyond the legal implications, the continued insistence on Justice Nyako presiding over this trial has wider socio-political ramifications. The trial of All Nnamdi Kanu is not just any criminal proceeding, it is one that has deep ethnic, political, and national security dimensions. Given the sensitivity surrounding the case, judicial officials must exercise heightened caution to ensure that the process is above board. Anything that suggests political interference or a compromised judiciary can further fuel agitation, resentment, and instability. Moreover, the question must be asked, why is there resistance to reassigning this case to another judge? The Federal High Court has numerous competent justices capable of adjudicating the matter fairly. If the judicial system is truly impartial, then recusing a judge who has been formally ordered to step aside should not be an issue. Insisting that Justice Nyako must proceed with the trial, despite the binding order against her involvement, raises suspicions that there may be vested interests at play, which could undermine the credibility of the final verdict. Upholding the rule of law in this case is not just about All Nnamdi Kanu, it is about safeguarding the integrity of Nigeria's judicial system. If court orders can be disregarded, if accusations of bias are swept under the rug, and if due process is compromised for the sake of expediency, then no citizen is safe from judicial misconduct. Justice should not be subject to political expediency or personal interests. The law must apply equally to all, and its processes must be transparent and beyond reproach. It is, therefore, imperative that the valid recusal order against Justice Nyako be enforced without delay, and the case reassigned to an impartial judge. Anything less would amount to a miscarriage of justice and further diminish public trust in the judiciary. The credibility of Nigeria's legal system depends on its ability to uphold fundamental principles of fairness, justice, and the rule of law without compromise. Lemi Ukegbe, PhD, writes from Abuja. May the good Lord continue to bless, protect, and preserve our great leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, until Biafra is achieved and beyond. Stay tuned for more updates, stay safe, and have a blessed day.
Ndị Igbo ndewo, achọrọ m ikwu okwu taa, and okwu a na-ekwu okwu gbasara anyị nwa bụ ndị Igbo. Okwu gbasara nwanne anyị nwoke ji eji bụ Nnamdi Kanu, onye farụ na-eme taa na Naịjirịa, agbachicha nkịtị, ọ dịka na agajụwa enwekwara onye Igbo na-ekwuzi okwu, mana ọtụtụ mgbe ekwube okwu ụmụntakịrị apụta kparịba onye ahụ na-amara ụmụaka na-amara nga ihe si bido. Enwere ọtụtụ ndị Igbo nwere ike ịpụta taa kwuo okwu aṅa ha ntị, mana ihe eji agaghị apụta kwuo okwu bụ wepụta okwu ụmụaka ebere blackmail sobe ha. Ọ bụrụ ndị a ga-abịa na soshal midia na-akarị na vidiyo ikpeazụ m mere gbasara Nnamdi Kanu, ekwuru m okwu sị ga meet the National Security Advisor. Enwere ihe m kwuru tụnye n'ime ọhịa. Some people pụta sị na nsị na ọ bụ security issue, na ọ security issue, ọ bụ self-determination. Mmechi ọnụ m, because ejiri m onwe m wee mara ihe m na-ekwu. Gịnị na a na-agata agasịa na m ya, agabichiala m ya. Mgbe ejidere m na 2004, ebe edobere m na DSS office ebe Nnamdi Kanu nọta. Anọ m ebe ahụ for 6 months, more than 6 months. Eburu m si ebe ahụ ka Suleja prison, doo m ebe ahụ from Suleja prison to Kefi prison. Anọ m na prison for 2 good years. Onye bụ case m n'isi mgbe abụ Senator Chukwumerije. May God bless him, bless his soul. May he rest in perfect peace. Asị na Chukwumerije dị ndụ taa, otu anyị na-asị na-eme awụ otu ọ ga na-esi na-eme. Ewetuo Ojukwu, Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, onye Igbo ọzọ nwa. Ihe na-eme ndị Igbo na-echi ụra bụ Senator Uche Chukwumerije. Ya bụ keesi m n'isi oge ahụ na-akpọ ma na other senators na-abịa court mgbe ọbụla m nwere case. Mana ofu mbọsị in the evening like that, ya bịa na Kefi bịa ileta m. Ọ na-abịa almost twice a week. Ọ bịara osi m, Ralph Maza, oge akpọpụtara m, ọ sị makwa na enwere mistake anyị mere kamgbe. Pasa kedu ihe ọ sị na mgbe ahụ nne m anwụọ na anọ m na prison, nne m anwụọ na Kefi. Ọ sị na lewe ya gwara ofu enyi ya nwoke I think any young car go now, sir. So, hey, I'm not a prison, never. Then you can see a couple of guys to National Security Advisor. Yes, I'm back. I said, can meet Kenya. What happened for the very first time? Can meet the National Security Advisor. Me to say that the Sheba have your prison therefore. Na simna na taka for demand. Ni won he demand na ekuro. Okusia but on here ka ko me ba. Ma the bottom line upon her. No se na get release zoom. Na get release some more. Nyem 90 days. Kan we ga yen nem chigakwa azu na prison. Na kefi kono na agwa m ya na kefi prison. Osina na National Security Advisor Sena agenyem 90 days maga liennem chilazo na ndị otu m nọ na prison ga nọ na prison until ma chilazo na ugbu a mgbe ha na-eme ikwu ha onye isi ala bụ Shehu Yaradua no eji ahụ ga on France. Last night, only Sala, not a Hana, Kagerelism. See my lawyer to prepare bail. To prepare for bail for me. My application for bail, known as Supreme Court. Bintanyako, he refused on bail at that time. Court of Appeal, he refused on bail by the Court of Appeal. Then the bail application was in a Supreme Court. I say, the bail application in a Supreme Court, I said, but not that another one. But that this bail application, now they watch to the Federal High Court, Bintanyako's court. Now, I submitted the bail application. No, immediately, only say Anapata na Abuja. I submitted an accord. Monsieur, Yanaba. You know, Kuruta, although 4 days, here we don't change you. And on one evening, the deputy controller of prisons, the in charge of our prison, I've been a window. Waka, me. I said, Chief, congratulations. I say again. I say, I'm just from a meeting now. My controller took me to the meeting. Na meeting now for Ndishi, security chiefs. Na here the guy Makanasia, that wire was around my stay in his prison. Come I told you we on a meeting now. Now to listen now, I'm gonna very soon. Yeah, program that evening. 4 days after Chukumelije, so the Chukumelije was remaining. So one hour or two, Ruha Obo Abelole, President Yaradua Nata. Here on Nata, toi, Eshe to Ziakaya, my lawyer, Kiamo, they were a fresh application. Go on at the same court, High Court, Federal High Court, Bintayako. In adjournment for about 1 week or so, Burumka Court, Bintayako. Yeni na National Security Advisor Kuru. Otaho Shikuya. Kabintayako Semna. Nangana. Guardian them within 90 days and come back to prison. That happened. My name not na gwante mwatu na ekwu okwu maka na experience nwere ndị na-enwe ihe ha ma onye na-agakwa prison before ma ọ fọkwa the child with treason and treasonable felony. Up with all Kenya no here, Second, I echo self-determination. Blah, 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 blah. No, no, Maro. Nwanyị ahụ na-aga na-adọkasị ahụ Binta Nyako enweghị powers release Nnamdi Kanu. Onweghị powers ọ ma release ya. As a matter of fact, ịma nke bụ eziokwu, Tinubu ama release Nnamdi Kanu unless with the support of the security chiefs and the national security advisor. Also, Gekwere ka gbasaziri gị. Tinubu ama release Nnamdi Kanu without the support of the security chiefs and national security advisor. Nna gwa ka somebody might have ma ihe gbasara ihe. Because I got going through the process. Some people can say, I want and now self-determination. Self-determination. Court, upper court of appeal, as it got happen Nnamdi Kanu. Court of appeal, they higher than the Federal High Court. Has it got happen Nnamdi Kanu? Why panala ya? Or Supreme Court to see Nnamdi Kanu. How Supreme Court to see ya? Court of Appeal as he go happen Nnamdi Kanu. Arapo haya kelundi jia. Kelundi jikwana ya. Bine kwana as Attorney General, Minister of Justice. Ndi ani na-enwere powers release Nnamdi Kanu. Ndi awo Odibo National Security Advisor. Yo wana gbasara security no ya n'aka. And when he got discussed with the president today regarding security, the national security advisor, Manoya. Moga no get the ya batao by a president together with him in a chinaka. And when we uno bien la cotta na ma janjana me hende ale me ho monta kan. Huh? The judge Binta Nyako no got federal government on and pay salary. Recuse yourself. I say recuse yourself. Na the chief judge, I say continue with the case. Yeah, continue with the case. He's an employee. Chokachoya no. Kikane bishiaga. Can you home? Fine. It could be easier. When the Kadulu needs it got to Attorney General. Minister of Justice got one and now. It can office here. Fine, it's a public place. My name is Kataga and tell National Security Advisor. And I'll give me the actual name. Give me Kagina and Akpa. Who want anything to do with you? Mana. Oh yeah, we see Mary. Here was not security no naka. I now but I say, Tinubu release the one night because now the commander-in-chief. Mana. And when your game was release such caliber of person without the agreement with the National Security Advisor, security chiefs. Or when he wanted the consent of the National Security Advisor. Oh my okay, man. Oh my okay, man. Yekwe, not the reason Nnamdi Kanu to be quick. Macron my hog security situation in Nigeria not Tinubu na account their corner na no one have where ya call game me. On the half I say, Uba, Henry na the go Ken na Southeast. Can release the onya, where's nothing will happen. He will release him. But only convince Tinubu Bob the task na can release Nnamdi Kanu. Only is what I National Security Advisor. I say, hey, Oga Mbamba. No, okay, maybe here now, Oga Mbamba. And when okay. You saw the Koga Bamba, Tas, Shepa, Rope, or Hakot, Ro Medugri. And when he came about it, that's the judge. You can the Court of Appeal justices still release Nnamdi Kanu. I transfer all of them out of Abuja. Think one on Port Harcourt, one on Medugri, Borno State. I'm not about after the third one. Still, they compared the Court of Appeal to resign their decision, what they said. It's a Kabaka Gatoa Nandia Undi Mokoto. I don't know. Him got true. What I passed through. The mother were on Emperor. She anymore. Where's a better court? Nah. Can handle me. One National Assembly member for last time, Morgan Bessie, video. See, I'm now. In my hair, Casey medicine. Here, no, not an apple and a balconies. Now say release Nnamdi Kanu. Uno the real. Uno the real. Uno my Uno game, man. Ndibo. I don't know. I must say, Sunday Boho, this and that. Sunday Boho, a court release Ria? No. This Meti Alaman, a court release Ria? No. KKC release there, you don't know. But I'm not working, case release here. Or the age release her, it will only know Kunonya Hanaya. But the man came, you don't do anything. You can't profile any solution. Fine, Henry Bonap Witcher, they can Kuno na court. Or here do an account. Or what's I am? Okay, man, my arrest. I was on my side to go arrest. Man, my arrest. Me Federal Fashion arrest. Me Gani Adams arrest. Man, Baba release where episode release aside the Kobo. Release Federal Fashion as number 2. Release Gani Adams number 3. Ndani release them when Cassie got through the court. Also was Rike can release through the court. Same can the end Macanum burn a prison. Nam no 90 days in Chiazo. Hindi won up Wiche na Nigeria. Makai won that Porashi. Manaya na what an Haporayashi. I blew my eye began the Haporayashi. As in Gaga one national security advisor, Macadon Yawa, Wuni Gagawa. Yamakukuno na Ogahasi Igaweta. He was Nnamdi Kanu. I don't know about it, or it's not within my portfolio. I cannot talk. Okay, I'm on a table yakon. Oh, no, gateway. Yasi, I get this here. Oh, no, God, at the possible. Yasi, no, God, the possible. Give man a name with Hijinaka. You can talk I say for why. My own one, Edian, it's young one. A little why I am. Huh? It's why, what more than a case? You were poor where? When administrative judge, see, I think I continue the case. I continue her. Get up in a parallel way on my but you have to say, meet only naked the instruction, you probably never like that. Only with that. Macanaba sank it at the point of saying, but she can't get the game in your own so. My no. Didn't pan on no law, a monobu. Macanini na the menu here. Manekusioku, I get you a minute. April na video a part of say, Hemon Igbo. Is she Jurute? Moniki Galu is in Mina. Mana. Hema later now, Hagawa Baha. A Padawaha. Come at Boha Sabotoas. Morsen I will let her say, Rananego. Blackmail where I think. What do I think when Dibo can we are? When Dibo can we are? The man, when there's a national security advisor, I will know and I get meeting. So ndị ga-eme to where can we back governors only, because all these governors get cover the security situation in their states. On don't put the cake Johan killing him and Motana state again. Or when you got no Catare say, can feel pepper, can go for ya. Mana I took a fair. I can look at this affair. I want to get him meet where this it's very difficult to meet such a person. Mana, that's the right full person you can meet if really you want Nnamdi Kanu to come out. He convinced Henry today, Nnamdi Kanu Potago. Because he convinced say, oh my God, about the other security chiefs. Oh my God, I convinced about the president now, like the security report is fine, it's okay, let's release him. The president didn't want anything to do that to release him. But they not only Tinubu Jia, the entire country, a man in my hand now, my hand I call. When him, when he check one, it's an ambamba. It could have one boss or okay, you know, Hammond Canoya. As you know, the case is adjourned indefinitely. One madam run a prison that town. All which has to go back to the court. You know the criminate, but have you done your own part? I'm an apple on the wash. Mana, no can Choba wono wano koshishi. Amana ibugo osise namba amana mana osigo don bata e continue to pressurize. At the moment I say, okay, I know something to do about it. I will do something about it. Imana the window has at least opened. If they change, also I don't the bank they won.